I bet you said to yourself before, once I hit this number, I'm actually going to have some space to breathe. Or once I hit this number, I'm going to hire these people and that's going to give me the freedom that I want. Once I hit this particular revenue number, I'm going to, whatever, be uber wealthy and have made all the money that I actually need to. We treat that top line number and that destination like it is where freedom lives for all of us. But I can tell you from personal experience, it is not. I have built a multi-million dollar company both for myself and I've built many for many other people as well. And most of them don't talk about what it actually feels like when they arrive at this number because you can actually go and see many people who have built the 7, 8, 9 figure businesses and sold them in the past. Most of them are missing something when they get to that destination. A few weeks ago, we were driving along the Natchez Trace. We were actually on our way to Nashville. We were going to the Grand Ole Opry. I was taking my daughters for the very first time. I had my dad, my uncle, my husband, my two girls in tow with us, and we almost drove right past a small, quiet little turnoff and didn't go visit what was actually back down this very small road. But all of us were kind of surprised to find this sign in this particular destination along this particular road. When we made the decision to actually make the turn, what we saw when we got back there was a broken column, a stone monument in a very small cabin, and then a name that all of us actually recognized immediately, Meriwether Lewis. So if that name sounds familiar to you too, it should. He was handed the opportunity of a lifetime. He was chosen by Thomas Jefferson to actually lead an expedition into the West, into the land that nobody had yet mapped in what is now known as the United States of America. It was a 2 year expedition, thousands of miles, nearly unimaginable danger that none of us could actually fathom in the days that we are living in now. And he did it. He led one of the greatest expeditions in American history. He accomplished something that no one else will ever be able to say that they actually accomplished. He came home a hero. And by every measure that could actually possibly matter, Meriwether Lewis was deemed a huge success. So this is where most stories would end. It's actually where I thought the story ended. But by the end of our time visiting his gravesite and visiting this particular location in Tennessee, I was utterly shocked to the point I had to sit with it for the next couple of weeks to even be able to process what happened to him in his lifetime. When Lewis came home, he was made governor of Louisiana Territory. And on paper, it looked like the next chapter in his absolutely remarkable life. But in reality, it was the beginning of when everything started unraveling for him. There was a ton of political pressure. He was struggling financially. He had racked up a ton of debt. There were decisions who were questioned by people who had never faced anything like he'd faced in his life. This man who had survived 2 years out in a wilderness that none of us could fathom, he was actually losing himself in a life that was no longer his own, that was being judged by so many others out there. So in October of 1809, on this same stretch of the Natchez Trace that I was actually now here with my family, Meriwether Lewis died. And most historians actually believe that he took his own life. He was only 35 years old. As I stood at that gravesite with my family, with my two young kids, I couldn't stop asking myself one simple question. How does someone accomplish so much, by all outward appearances, have become such a huge success, only lose themselves or take their own lives after they make it home? I actually recognize something that I see show up in a lot of founders. We bury ourselves in building these businesses and we think when I hit some sort of revenue number, whatever that magic number is for you, I'm finally going to be able to breathe, or I'm going to build this to sell it in 5 to 7 years. And when I do that, I'm finally going to have real freedom. Or look, when I do this and I hit this top line revenue number, I'm going to hire a certain amount of people and then I'm going to take a step back and that's going to be my freedom. We keep just pushing freedom into the future. And somewhere along the way, without ever actually making the decision to do this, we make our business and what we're building our identity. And what we really make is that top line revenue number, our identity, the thing that we're chasing. That becomes the thing that resonates with us the most. But what if we flipped it? What if all the things that we're doing the journey of what we're trying to do was actually the destination? What if the everything that we're learning, everything that we're providing to others, what if the service that we're doing to live in that kind of service to our clients, to help them do whatever it is that they want to do in their lives? What if that was the destination? What if in doing that, maybe that was what gave us the real freedom? What if we used our businesses and our source of income as a vehicle to actually achieve whatever it was that we wanted in our life? Maybe it's traveling around the country for a few years with your kids while they still want to hang out with you. Maybe it's time to sit and read some of the great novels to be able to apply that to present day situations. Maybe it's just taking your kids to their soccer game every Wednesday night and taking a break from the office. Maybe it's picking them up from school when that final school bell rings. What if that was part of the destination? And what if all the growth that occurred in between when we started and when we decided we were complete was what we were truly meant to do? At some point in the future, you're going to decide that the business that you have right now is not the one that suits you anymore, or it may make that decision for you. What I need you to hear is that we can't have our identity completely tied up in exactly what it is that we're doing and that we're building. Freedom is not something you earn after success. It's not chasing a certain number, and it's not going to come after you hit it in the future. Freedom is something that happens when you have a sense of purpose in your life and you know that what you're doing is serving that purpose. So, what if you built your business to support the life that you truly want to live? And what if the judgment of others along the way didn't matter? What if we didn't listen to all the people who said you need to build your multi seven figure business or your nine figure business or more? What if we just made it whatever we wanted it to be? You can absolutely build a business that gives you freedom, and you can do it while traveling around the country with your family, and you can do it without having a huge top line number or a huge team. You can still hit whatever your financial goals are, and you can get back the one resource that you can never replace: time. After visiting with our family, we got back in the car and we kept driving on to the Grand Ole Opry, where we had a fantastic time. I actually ended up finding one of my new favorite bands simply for the joy that they brought to the stage. But what else I found that day was one of the more powerful leadership lessons that I've come across this year, especially since it showed up in such a surprising factor. Look, our sense of purpose, who we are, it doesn't have to be tied up in the one thing that we're trying to accomplish. It can be supplied to us by knowing that we have been on an incredible journey that has gotten us to a place where we've seen things that maybe others have never seen before. In our businesses, they can absolutely help support that. In fact, they can be the vehicle for all the things that you're going to learn along the way. After doing this for almost a decade, I started my first business back in 2015. So it's now actually been over a decade. I can promise that entrepreneurship is going to be one of the greatest journeys that you've ever been on, but it will be a roller coaster ride, and you are going to have a ton of ups and downs along the way. What you have to be willing to do is go along for the ride and realize that monetarily, fiscally, it may be a rocky road at times, and others are absolutely going to judge you along the way, and they're going to offer up their own opinions no matter what your accomplishments are. But if you know that you're building this business to support the life that you truly want to live, and if it is giving you the freedom and the space to learn things and see things that you never thought were possible, then just know that journey is time well spent. So until next time, go and build that business that gives you the freedom to live a life worth remembering and to be with the people that make it all possible.